Taurus. Taurus in the 11th house. Let's get right into it. Now listen. All right, listen. First, let's locate the ruler. Let's locate the ruler, which is Venus. All right, it's a nice ruler to have in the 11th house. Why? Because Venus deals with love, support. Venus wants to connect and relate. All right, and it deals with our value system. So wherever you have Venus at in your chart, she's going to be bringing that activity or what she values, and she's going to make an effort to connect that in the 11th house. She'll manifest experiences, placing you in environments where people value those things, with already you having a natural crave to want to be in environments, being around these people that share these values. All right. So you got Venus in the 5th house. So your love and value for creativity, creative, artistic expression, you're going to find them environments in the 11th house. The 11th house is going to be pushing you to get into them environments. And we may just fall into these environments by default at times, right? You know, 11th house dealing with communities, groups, our involvement with the outside world, right? Connection to the collective represents the collective, how we connect to the collective through a logical perspective. I just said collective in three times in 3 seconds. But deal with partnerships, business partnerships, associates, our social environment, right? Abstract thought, unknown, sciences, right? And, you know, this is a social house. So Venus is going to make an effort to make sure she's relating her values with people and getting her nice feel off that, because, you know, Venus needs to find her pleasure. Venus in the 7th house. This person might play out a lot of plug energy, because they might take a lot of people from their 7th house that they already have one-on-one relationships with and create opportunities for them in the 11th house to become a part of groups and communities they're a part of, help them get into groups and communities they're a part of. In some type of shape or form, they might end up having some type of, you know, brand business or something that where they're helping connect the other people to other resources. It's going to be a lot of activity here with opportunities, sharing values between the 7th house and the 11th house in general, having that no matter what the house lord is. Okay, the house lord is just going to show you the energies that's related here. But if it's Venus in the 7th, the things that this person values in their one-on-one relationships, they're going to build on top of these values in groups and environments. So they may bring a sense of harmony and connection with those type of ideologies. Because remember, Venus is home in the 7th house. So this person is already going to value a sense of relatability and connection and you know, balanced partnerships, you know, compromised situations, not in a negative sense, but situations where people have the ability to compromise and negotiate in a balanced manner. So they bring that into the 11th house. You just got to make sure you're not too open and passive here. Now, so we got to find where Venus is at. All right. You can work opportunities in the outside world, taking your values from that area and making sure that's connected, networked, related in some type of shape or form, that you represent some of these values in the outside world, because you're going to be pushed to represent these values in the outside world. You know, you got Venus in the 1st house in some type of shape or form, the things that you value personally. You're going to have outlets to express these things and connect these things to people in the outside world in some type of shape or form. All right. Your personality itself and the things you value about your own personality. You know, you funny. You know, you could dress well. You into fashion. You know, you are creative, standing third personally. You could let that about your personality be seen in the 11th house. The more you value it, the more it creates opportunities in the 11th house. So that's what we got going on. Find that ruler, guys. Find that ruler. Now, Taurus in the 11th house. Now, you see, when we look at Taurus in the 11th house, this is a square. This is a square. Oh, man, I didn't even say the rising. Goddamn. This is, we just did Cancer risings. This is Cancer risings. Yep. And you may be a Taurus rising. Excuse me, you may be a Gemini rising, or you may be a Leo rising. But if you got Taurus in the 11th house, this video's for you, okay? So, when you got Taurus here, this is a square, and you put fixed earth in a fixed air house. So Taurus is stubborn about his value systems. Taurus is concentrated on what it values and what it's trying to build. So when Taurus gets in the 11th house, this person this Cancer rising gets placed in environments where they have to learn how to relate to people that's into different things and having their own sense of individuality, regardless of the things you personally value. So you may get into environments where you might have to work with others, cooperate with others, and you guys kind of share different values. But there is a common cause while y'all working together in situations like this. You gotta remember, Cancer is sensitive, right? So Cancer placements, it's hard for them to bear being in partnerships, relationships, environments that bring any type of emotional disturbance, to say the least. Okay. So they could detach in that sense. But once again, this is a sextile from the first house to the 11th. So the thing that Cancer really cares about in its personal life, it could create a foundation for other people to value these same things. Taurus deals with his value system. What do Cancer and Taurus both have in common? Moon energy, right? That's the exaltation in Taurus, and it's the rulership in Cancer. So there's going to be times where you have to learn how to cooperate, and Taurus is cooperative, right? And Taurus is practical. So it's going to see why I need to cooperate with people, maybe with different values for this common cause towards what we build in. But in the same sense, Cancer gets pushed here, to establish a healthy value system in places. So this could be situations where you Cancer risings get thrown into the 11th house in an environment that has negative values, and you got to establish some positive ones and make sure you don't adapt negative values here, right? And wherever Venus is at in your chart, you start finding ways to support the negative value system here. Because that could happen. Taurus brings structure to where it's at. I always joke about for you guys that have been watching me for a little minute, how many times I joke about people leaning on Taurus. Taurus attracting couch potatoes and whatnot. So when you have Taurus in this area, you have to make sure you're not upholding something with negative values, an environment, group endeavor with negative values. You only are really a part, you don't realize it, but you're a part of something because you're the one that's upholding the resources to enable negativity amongst a group. No matter what the bad habit is or whatever the negative thing is, but being in that position can be manifested here. Don't be no crutch for negative things. Taurus can find support. So being in this 11th house is going to find a group or community that it could do the negative things with or indulge into negative values if that's the vibration that's here. On the opposite scale, the way they could bring, this person can bring a healthy value system, establish new sense of value and stability into groups and environments they're at. Those y'all right there, Cancer risings, y'all Cancer risings right there, y'all manifest many opportunities by it's the sextile, just by that. We see your personality being able to connect, understand, read. So when it gets into opportunities into the 11th house, we could see the stability you bring to a group environment, to a partnership. It's moon energy, so it's all type of stability that you bring there. Okay, so those are like the flip sides on that coin when it comes into Taurus upholding, stabilizing something wherever it's at in the chart. Is it going to be stabilizing something negative in that environment or positive? And the 11th house could get power and controlling here. What's the ruler here? Saturn and Uranus. These are the homes of Saturn and Uranus. So we building and using and transforming and trying to gain power in the 11th house. And we're doing it amongst people. Relationships make the world go round. So I need my Cancer risings to be aware of that and don't get too caught up in the feeling and emotion that you have about a group environment that takes away from the practicality Taurus needs in the 11th house, that Taurus needs to execute, Taurus needs to utilize in the 11th house, the sense of practicality and structure to make sure any type of connection, partnership is amongst the common cause. In a practical sense, you're not just dealing with the feeling and emotion. You cannot let feeling and emotion dictate things in the Saturn houses. Yes, intuition plays a part in all different type of situations in life. Sometimes you need intuition dealing with your bills, all right? You need to be like, all right, they about to cut my phone off, dude. Can I go another day? Can I go another day, use this money I got, right? I know my check box. Can I go another day, you feel me, and just use this money to get some food? Is they gonna spare me? Sometimes intuitively you can pick it up. You can pick up if you gotta go call AT&T, go put a little payment plan in, extend that phone bill. So some intuition could come into practical matters. So I know y'all understand that. But Taurus in 11th house, so it's gonna have to be a sense of stability and structure, and make sure you're a building block in a positive cause, in a reasonable way, right? Because that you're gonna manifest them environments in general. All right. So I want y'all to make sure the environments y'all manifest is towards things that y'all know y'all trying to structure in your lives, right? Taurus in 11th house, especially if Venus, it really don't even matter for real, but especially if Venus is in an area that's another social environment, another like 3rd house, 5th house, 7th house, 9th house, like it's gonna want to experience the finer things in the outside world. It's Taurus we talking about. Okay? It's Taurus we talking about. So Venus ruling over this house is going to find the crave and pleasure in that. And Taurus will pursue being able to have its experiences, finding pleasures in the outside world through its harmonious connections with other people, other environments, or just what the world has to offer in general, right? Venus is going to seek that. Taurus is going to seek that here. One thing I give Taurus in this house, yeah, is a Cancer rising, and Cancer rising could dictate a lot of things off their feeling and emotions, which works out in positive ways and negative ways, just like everything in life. You just gotta make sure you're not leaning on certain vibrations too hard, but you know, having Taurus in this area, they can come into their partnerships with a transactional approach to things, and that's good though. That's good in the 11th house. Cause y'all gotta remember, this is the 11th house. You don't know people in this area. You're just as first occurrences to the outside world. So you have to have a realistic, practical approach dealing with these people. You deal with a Cancer rising people, they're gonna read you for a little minute before we start doing any type of business, before I join your church, before I join any type of organization, any type of 11th house activity. Man, I'm gonna read this situation to the bone. Taurus in the 11th house. Taurus is fixed earth. This is a fixed air house. So in this house, you see how people have their own fixed ideologies about things in the outside world. So Taurus comes and brings its fixed value system here. But the thing is, because Taurus is fixed earth, that's why it can be very hesitant before it starts things, because it wants to stay concentrated and fixed, stay in a fixed, consistent motion with things it's doing. It doesn't like jumping in and out of things. So Cancer rises, they're not going to be in different churches. They're not going to be going to, you know, different clubs all the time. They're not going to be going, like, whatever they do in the 11th house, once they find that thing that scratches the itch for Venus, boom, that's my spot. These are the 3 bars I like to go to. I know all the bartenders, the service as well, and everything, just like how I like it. Taurus in the 11th. Taurus in the 11th. These are the banks I deal with. You feel me? These are the financial institutions I like their percentages on things. Okay. So anything dealing with 11th house activity, man, they's not finna be jumping here and there. Okay. But I believe this is part of where the square kicks in, because the 11th house is the outside world. So Taurus, you got to make sure you don't close opportunities to experiencing or, you know, participating or interacting with certain environments that seem unfamiliar just because you may have a certain thing set in stone for you. Not saying you have to go and jump and participate in everything. No, it's great to have that sense of a practical approach dealing with the 11th house, but making sure you're not closing yourself off to different environments, seeing how you can expand in different areas, different connections, resources to be made. That's important. Not to Taurus get in that 11th house. 11th house also deal with abstract thought. It deal with rule. This is the house of media propaganda. This house rules spirit. It has spiritual influences. All right. This house rules astrology. Deal with abstract thought, the unknown. So Taurus in this house could kind of get too locked into one of these ideologies about something. The Democrats. The Democrats is where it's at. Mother fudge the Republicans. Astrology over everything. Nothing else matters. That's my value system. It's like, damn, I bang with astrology too. That's what I'm kicking right now. But there's other things to, ever heard about numerology? You ever heard about gematria? You feel me? You can still learn from different religions. I got a little Buddhism book I started reading. I'm learning a couple things in there, So you got to be careful of that. You might run into very dogmatic people in certain environments. That shit might scare y'all away, actually. It's like, I ain't gonna lie. I was coming to the temples with the Moors. I was feeling the culture. But I ain't gonna lie. When they started talking about this, that, and the third, I was like, all right now. The one leader in there, I wasn't really rocking with how he was trying to control things in there, this, that, and the third, how he was trying to, it's a little extra, but I was feeling it though. So y'all might run into situations like that at times, like, there could be an intrigue for fashion here, different things dealing with the arts and different, creative aesthetics and whatnot. Taurus in the 11th house. Venus could really want to, Venus is real artsy herself, and we know Venus dealing with love. So when you mix the love for art, when you see art in love, when you got all these things going on in the 11th house, Taurus can at times go on quest if it's concentrated on manifesting something for Venus, depending on where Venus is at. If it's in the first house, it's a personal aspiration. If it's in the fourth house, it's something for the home environment, something for healing, something to shift the home environment, some type of shape or form. Family responsibility. Something in the ninth house, something for spiritual expansion. Something in the fifth house, something for creative expansion. But Taurus in the 11th house can lock in here, get concentrated on getting into environments that support that thing Venus is trying to value. So that's why knowing that you're doing that, knowing that Taurus is already manifesting that, keeping that intention about what Venus is connecting there, it can do a lot. All right. Could run into stubborn folks in networking environments. Could be a little stubborn people here and there, cooperative yet stubborn. But I think one of the most important things here is to beware of the overindulgence and doing it in packs, right? The overindulgence in packs, easily creating enabling environments, because everything about that could be manifested in a positive side. Being able to experience a lot of these finer things in life, or some of the things Venus wants to connect to through your 11th house, in a harmonious way with others. So you have to be aware of how you ride in that vibration, guys. So what's the opposite here? The fifth house, we have Scorpio. So it's Scorpio in the fifth house. You're already going through a lot of transformations when it comes to your relationship with your creative artistic expression. Creative artistic expression could be connected to things in the subconscious, past experiences. The material of your substance can have a lot of depth to it. It could be a lot of vulnerability dealing with creative expression. So when you get into the 11th house, the opposite, and you got Taurus here, Taurus is the Taurus has to learn how to establish values amongst different transformations Scorpio made, dealing with how it expresses itself. So it's like Scorpio goes through all these different transformations, learning how to express itself. But when it gets into the 11th house environment, this is where Taurus has to have its value system set with how it goes about who it is in the world, dealing with individuality. What sign deals with individuality? Scorpio, ruled by Mars. So when you get into the 11th house, Taurus helps all them transformations that Scorpio has to endure being in the 5th house, going through them transformations. It helps to at least have Taurus be like, you know what? All them transformations I went through, right? Expressing myself, right? Whether getting opposition from expressing myself, feeling free at times, expressing myself, going through all these transformations, this, that, and the third, how I'm being seen and how I'm comfortable expressing myself. When I go in the 11th house, this is the value system I represent. This is what I'm gonna establish here. So that's like the relationship, that opposite relationship that manifests there. Jump into the 2nd house square. This is Leo. So Leo in the 2nd house, this is why like a lot of you Cancer risings be so talented, won't nobody even know sometimes. I know that Scorpio 5th house, man. Scorpio 5th house, Cancer in the 1st house, man. Water risings be creative out their mind creative though. It'd be crazy. When I meet somebody and they tell me like they a sun in Scorpio, moon in Cancer, Pisces, moon, Cancer rising. Like you mix any of them water signs a lot of times in the big 3 and then you tell me you're into something creative, 9 out of 10 times I know it's gonna be dope. Let me take a sip of water on that. You know, I feel like fire and water signs fight each other every day for who's the most creative in the zodiac. So when we get into and no knock on fire and air signs dealing with creativity, no knock. All right, this is a whole nother subject y'all want to get into, is no knock. And then we got different type of placements amongst the signs. We got all different type of things going on, y'all. All right. So the square sign, yeah. So Leo in the 2nd house. So Leo is already pushing you to be expressive and be seen for things that you value. The 11th house is what creates that frictional, that friction, that relationship with friction, where it's like, all right, Leo in the 2nd house, we gonna be seen for what we value. We gonna be seen for that. Taurus, push that out in the 11th house. So I can even see through this relationship how you guys get pushed to establish and be seen for your value system out in the world, connect with others, related to others. Like I said, manifest environments where you change the foundation of what's valued in there. Okay? So it's like, that's how that square could work. And then the other square in the 8th house is Aquarius. No, excuse me. Is it Aquarius? Yeah, Aquarius. Aquarius, I'm bugging. So that's the last fixed sign. So the 8th house represents the transformations we go through behind the scenes, right? And when we get into the 11th house, we start to connect and relate to other people and the individuality that they've been developed into through their transformations and whatnot, right? So it kind of, the relationship between the 8th and the 11th house eighth house kind of pushes us to represent our individuality in the 11th house, right? And what we have here, we have Aquarius here. We have Aquarius from the 8th going to the 11th. So, you know, Aquarius in the 11th house is already gonna be, man, this placement don't get more individual than that. Okay, Aquarius is arguably one of the most individual signs, is the most individual sign in the zodiac. And when you put it in the 8th house, they go through a lot of transformations in their life based off of, you know, how they relate with others, you know, their outlook on relationships, which may be an unconventional outlook on relationships, how that transformation, how that may influence transformations in their life. You know, these people could, like I say, this placement can channel, has a lot of potential to channel. When I say channel, you know, kind of have a stronger, more vivid connection with influences outside our reality, whether they're aware of it or not. But with all that being said, that individuality that's molded here in general, how you deal with relationships, how you connect with others, You know, that gets also creates friction to establish a value system for Taurus to connect with others in the 11th house. So you may have already went through transformations in your life relating to different type of faces and places, being accepted and rejected in different environments. That may have created some type of, either spiritual baggage, trauma, or situations that molded, who you really want to connect to the world in a transparent way through working through that work, doing that shadow work in the 8th house, right? You go through transformations in your relationship houses. Get to the 8th house, see what piled up here, start to look at the depth of who you truly are, manage, observe your individuality, observe your attachments and the things that you desire. And with Aquarius here is trying to get you to understand how to be more detached and do these things in an original way. So they get to detachment pretty well here for a placement arising that deals with attachments because it deals with connection. This house helps rid a lot of attachments. And that's what the 8th house is supposed to do, but Aquarius there is powerful from that perspective now that I think about it. But, yeah, so you go through all them transformations dealing with relationship activity, then Aquarius pushes you out into the 11th house so you can represent your values in a more transparent way because the transformations you've been through with other relationships, other people, connecting your individuality with other people, how that experience transpired. So it helps Taurus to feel solidified, represent its value system in general, makes you feel like there is a sense of stability out in the outside world, regardless of the things you've experienced and been through in your life. So the 11th house is mad deep, man. The 11th house is so deep because this is a personal experience, but we get so condensed sometimes into our personal experience, of course, that we neglect what's going on in the world at times, and in some type of shape or form, we have energies that's going to activate that, and it changes perspectives of a lot of things. When we look at our personal life again, observe our personal experiences, so Taurus in the 2nd house does a great job of making sure that the things that you value, you can stand on those things in the 11th house. And with that type of understanding, it manifests more situations in the 11th house to connect group environments, partnerships, or your influence on the collective, on society, to embrace some of these values that could start manifesting some self-support. We don't want people just using you as a crutch, Taurus in the 11th house, Cancer risings, for supporting and upholding their business or their organization. We want to see you evolve and represent your value system in the collective so people can learn how to support their goddamn self. That's what we got going on. Shout out to everybody with Taurus in that 11th house. Shout out to all my Cancer risings in the building. Y'all already know it's the Lucky Libra. I'm tuning out. Peace.